Connie the cleric was in a little village out on the edge of the kingdom, and the cleric in charge of the church said, "Connie, my lady, we have a problem with vandals. They keep coming in and they keep defacing our statue of the goddess here. They draw horrible things upon her form. They try to draw clothing on her instead of letting her share her beauty with all who come to admire the statue. It's very disturbing. Can you do anything?" Connie the cleric thought for a minute and said, I may have an answer. Now, are you sure that the people who are doing this are not members of the clergy?" "Oh, yes, Connie, we are sure." "All right, so no elves would be doing this." "Well, I can't say that, Connie. I mean, there are elves in the village, but I don't think any of them would be. Why would elves deface our goddess?" "Well, I don't know. Make sure that no elves touch this statue with an intent to deface it. Now, let me get to work." And she goes about setting a glyph of warding on the statue, so that the next time somebody comes along and tries to mess with it, they are going to get a rude surprise. Hey everybody, welcome to Divine Thursday for October 15th, 2020. I'm your host, DM Gallibond, and today we are going to be talking about the Glyph of Warding, this spell, how it works, where it comes from, all that kind of stuff. All right, let us go ahead and navigate over to our slides here. All right, we are going to take a look at the first time Glyph of Warding appears in D&D, which is in AD&D or First Edition. It's a third level spell, range of touch. It's permanent until discharge, and it is 25 square feet per level of the caster. So 5 feet per level of the caster, 5 by 5 per level of the caster. Now, basically what you do is you put a glyph on here and it causes damage. Well, what sort of damage? In first edition, typical glyphs shock for 2 points of electrical damage per level of the caster, explode for a like amount of fire damage, paralyze, blind, or even drain a life energy level if the cleric is high enough level to cast this glyph. And then it says, okay, and I looked 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 and I looked, and there are no sources, not the Dungeon Master's Guide, not anything else for first edition, that really explains what they mean by if they're high enough level to cast this glyph. So, this is one of those things where you have to go to another edition and try to figure out what they mean. So, second edition, very, very similar spell. Almost everything is the same in here. And until you get to the description of the damage. So typical glyphs shock for 1d4 points of electrical damage per level, explode for a like amount of fire damage, paralyze, blind, deafen, and so forth. The DM may allow any harmful priest spell effect to be used as a glyph, provided the caster is of sufficient level to cast the spell. So that's what they mean. So now the weird thing is in first edition, I don't think that in first edition priests had any spells that would actually remove a level. There was nothing like Ghoul Touch or anything like that spells or that clerics had in first edition. But I suppose maybe they would be something like harm or maybe a cause serious wounds or something of that nature. But that would really deal hit point damage. It wouldn't deal energy drain damage. So whatever. Uh, but that's what they mean in first edition and second edition. The spell that you could key to a Glyph of Warding was dependent on the caster level. All right. And so you could either specify one of the straight damage effects, or you could, weave into it another spell that you wanted to go off when the glyph was triggered. And one of the things about the glyphs is that when you're casting it, you set the conditions of the ward. Typically, any creature violating the ward area without speaking the name of the glyph is subject to the magic it stores. Glyphs can be set up according to physical characteristics such as creature type, size, and weight. Glyphs can also be set with respect to good or evil or to past those of the caster's religion. They cannot be set according to class, hit dice, or level. So multiple glyphs cannot be cast in the same area, although if a cabinet had 3 doors, each could be warded separately. So it's interesting. All right. And then glyphs cannot be affected or bypassed by such means as physical or magical probing, though they can be dispelled by magic and foiled by high-level thieves using their find and remove traps skill. All right, so third edition, Glyph of Warding. Object touched or up to 5 square feet per level, permanent till discharge, and again, it's cleric level 3. And these are kind of ritual style, so they take up to 10 minutes to cast. Now, you set the conditions of the ward very similar to the previous editions, and also similar when when casting the spell. You weave a tracery of faint glowing lines around the warding sigil. Glyph can be placed to conform to any shape or up to the limitations. When the spell is completed, the glyph and tracery become nearly invisible. Cannot be affected or bypassed by such means. Okay, Read magic allows you to identify a Glyph of Warding with DC 13 spellcraft. Identifying a glyph does not discharge. It allows you to know the basic nature of the glyph. And DM may decide that the exact glyphs available to you depend on your deity. Also may make new glyphs available through magic research. All right. Then they introduce a blast glyph and a spell glyph. And so now you get a little bit of a choice here. So blast glyph deals 1d8 points of damage per every 2 caster levels, so a maximum of 5d8 to the intruder, and all within 5 feet of him or her. And the damage type can be acid, cold, fire, electricity, or sonic. So in third edition, they had sonic damage. There's no such thing as sonic damage. There's like thunder damage, which is similar to that. So that would be the equivalent in 5th edition is thunder damage. Each creature affected can attempt a reflex save. So spell glyph, you can store any harmful spell of 3rd level or lower that you know. All level dependent features of the spell are based on your caster level at the time of the casting of the glyph. So now in this edition, it's saying that because Glyph of Warding is a level 3 cleric spell, the only spells that it can accommodate are spells of 3rd level or lower. Spell is an area of amorphous effect. There is centered on the intruder. So obviously, you could weave a fireball into it. And as soon as you step on it, the fireball goes off. Oh, hey, guess what? You got the intruder, and you got everybody in a 20-foot sphere from the intruder as well. All right. Glyph of Warding for 5th edition. It doesn't appear in 4th edition. It's not a ritual or anything like that. Casting time is 1 hour until dispelled or triggered. And everything is pretty much the same as the previous editions, with the exception of the, let's see, the area is no larger than 10 feet in diameter, and it's not dependent at all on your caster level. So that's a little bit different. And then you can refine the triggers and that type of thing. Set conditions creatures that don't trigger the glyph, such as those who say a certain password. And then you choose explosive runes or spells, and the explosive runes erupt in a 20-foot radius centered on the glyph, and a creature takes 5d8 acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage. Now, the spell glyph, you can store a prepared spell of 3rd level or lower in the glyph by casting as part of creating the glyph. And now, here's the trick with 5th edition, you always are allowed to cast spells at a higher spell slot. So when you cast a spell using a spell slot of 4th or higher, the explosive ruins, you add a 1d8 of damage, so 4th level glyph would be 6d8. And then if you create the spell glyph, you can store any spell of up to the same level as the slot you use for the Glyph of Warding. So if you're high enough level, and if you can use a 9th level spell slot for a Glyph of Warding, you can actually have it trigger a 9th level spell. So yeah, that could be, you could really mess up somebody's day by doing a high level Glyph of Warding. And DMs, that's something to remember. So if you have a high level enemy spellcaster that your party is going up against, and especially if your spellcaster has an inkling of who the party is and that they might be coming, you could upcast a Glyph of Warding and put one of their really nasty spells of higher level in there as a special treat for your players when they come before the fight actually starts. It's a good way of sort of making them burn some of their resources, even if all you do is make them burn a few healing potions or some healing spells to get themselves back up to full. Those are resources they won't have during the fight later on. And if you tune the fight to make it very, very difficult, then any resources they use before the fight may make them really start sweating bullets when the fight gets later on in the day. All right. If you like everything that we're doing here on this channel, please like the video, subscribe to the video, or subscribe to the channel, share the video, click that post notification bell so that you get notified every time a new piece of content drops on the channel. Also, in the comments below, or the description below, you will find all of the social media platforms where you can follow me. You will also find information on the live streams that I do every week on my Twitch channel. And in the comments below, there was a reason I said that. It would be great if wonderful to hear about the most clever use of Glyph of Warding that you have seen in a campaign where you have played. Now, was it a fellow player or you as a player that cast the Glyph of Warding and were able to do something to mess up your enemies? Or was it a trap that your DM set for you with a Glyph of Warding? Or if you are the DM, how did you use that in an adventure that you were running? And then, of course, for 5th edition, while all of the other editions, it started off strictly as a cleric spell, here in 5th edition, you can have the bard, the cleric, the wizard, and the artificer. Artificer, say that 5 times fast, can use this spell. All right, well, that is going to do it for Divine Thursday for today. I have been DM Gallibond. Hope we will see you back here next week. Take care, everyone. Good night.